Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Today we are looking at the Type 10 shuttle. So, this most notably known as the Chaffee shuttle, uh, used on the Defiant class starships. Uh, the Chaffee was one of the test vehicles built, lost during the Dominion War. Uh, Decisions on the series production expected soon, is what we have listed here on our Daystrom's website. So, going through all of our stats here first as we scroll on down, we do have a small length of 9.64 meters long, a beam of 5.82 meters, a height of 3.35 meters. It is only one deck, has about 19.37 metric tons. Says it's got a crew of one, but the funny thing is, I do happen to remember they did have uh, two people on board. It was a small, cramped shuttle, but I do happen to remember two people on board. So, kind of going back here, that's a backstage source. So, wherever they're getting it from, whether you agree, disagree, whether I'm just remembering incorrectly, it is what it is. Let's see, we do have an armament of two Type 4 phaser arrays with an output of 150 uh, terawatts, two micro torpedo launchers with 60 rounds, which does seem a little bit on the high side for it, but that is what they have listed here. Defense systems. It is a standard shield system with a total capacity of 27,000 terajoules. We have a light duranium titanium single hull and a low level field structural integrity field. We do have a normal warp cruise speed of 4, a maximum warp cruise speed of 4.5, and a max rating of 5 for 3 hours, which isn't bad for a small shuttle. Let's see, we do have the beam firepower being rated for Daystrom as a 3, a torpedo is a 20, the weapon range and accuracy is a 15. We do have shield strength being at a 10 and hull armor a 3.13. The speed is listed as a 112 and combat maneuverability is 19,270. Now, uh, we'll see what we all have when we get to our D6 stats, obviously, and we can kind of pit it with everything else that we've done before. Overall strength index is a 44. Diplomatic capability is a 2. The expected whole life is going to be about a 50-year whole life, with minor and standard refits being at 1 year and a major refit every 15 years. So, this is all their own speculation here from Daystrom. But once the concept of the field replicatable shuttle was successfully introduced with the Type 9, Starfleet quickly turned its attentions to the next obvious step, that of shuttles and other small craft, which could not only be manufactured by individual starships, but would also be designed by the crew for those ships with no outside assistance. After some consideration, Starfleet noted that this development was indeed desirable. It would confer considerable further flexibility to the shuttlecraft fleet while virtually eliminating the need for starbases and shipyards to engage in shuttlecraft design and construction, freeing further resources for the building of larger vessels. However, Starfleet did recognize that some problems existed. Total freedom in shuttlecraft designs would almost certainly lead to an erosion of basic safety standards in at least a few cases, while maintaining an accurate fleet-wide picture of the capabilities of the shuttlecraft fleet would become virtually impossible if the composition of the fleet was changing on a daily basis. This would certainly have some implications for the further planning and assignments of missions which involves significant operations of shuttlecraft. Starfleet therefore established a halfway policy. Starship crews would be allowed to submit designs to Starfleet and eliminate and elements of different designs which looked promising would be combined into the next model of shuttlecraft. Starfleet hoped that this would promote greater innovation in further shuttle designs while still allowing central control of the designs. Many Starfleet personnel had argued that this system remains too restrictive and far more could be accomplished by engineering teams within the field uh, within the field were allowed off the leash, but thus far Starfleet has remained firm. The Type 10 was one of the first shuttles produced under this new scheme. It involves many new innovations. Some of the design elements have come from the crew of the USS Defiant, most notably the nacelle and warp core design, which is based around that of the Defiant herself and was suggested by the engineering team from Deep Space Nine under Chief Miles O'Brien. Starfleet accepted this concept, and after some computer simulation of testing and virtual models, several Type 10 shuttles were produced for field trials. One of these, issued to the Defiant herself, Starfleet reasoned that the role of the crew in designing the shuttle combined with the role of the Defiant herself as a testbed and evaluation vessel made her an ideal choice. The Type 10 has a large warp coil assembly that most shuttles are larger than warp coil assembly than most shuttles, which accounts for the very high speeds and um, that this design can achieve. The RCS system is identical to that of the Type 6 shuttle. The crew of the USS Intrepid suggested that the design should incorporate bio-neural gel packs, but Starfleet decided that this level of sophistication was not yet warranted. The Intrepid crew responded with a computer design heavily based on that of the Danube class runabout, but which was also very easy to upgrade and incorporate gel packs. A delighted Starfleet accepted this proposal instantly. It was just kind of an innovation that had hoped would come out of the new design scheme. So far, the Type 10 has proved exemplary in service with the USS Defiant, and Starfleet is shortly expected to authorize its ships to produce these handy little craft as and when needed. If this does come to pass, the Type 10 will surely become a common sight over the next few years. With that being the case, that might be why I'm kind of remembering this as a two-seater. If you're able to manufacture this on your own, you could make it as a single, a dual, or possibly a four-seater in that regard. All right, well, let's kind of flip on over and see what we have for us. All right, so looking at the stats here from D6 Holocron. Type 10 shuttle is a starfighter scale. Again, the length is 9.64 meters. The uh, width is 5.28 meters, and the height is 3.35 meters. I do want to say that this is listing it as a bigger size. Um, and crew and passenger wise, this is a bigger size. It's a size 2 shuttlecraft, where the one from being the same one, but what we had seen on Daystrom's web Daystrom's website. If I can speak correctly here tonight, that would be wonderful. Technically, it's morning, but either way, uh, I think that the one from Daystrom would be a size 1. Um, but we'll get into that here. Autopilot is a 1D plus 2, so it is a little bit below our galactic standard. We do have a crew of 4 and passengers of 6. A skeleton crew of 1 can manage the shuttle with a plus 10 uh, difficulty to any of the skill checks. So this is significantly bigger because remember, we were seeing that the other one would only be able to carry one person. Uh, there is no cargo capacity listed on this. We do have consumables for 1 week. We have a warp drive of 1.5 for our standard cruise, a warp 3 for our maximum, and a rating of warp 5 for 48 hours. Let's see. It does have our nav computer. Maneuverability is listed as a 2D, and our space speed is 5. Our atmospheric speed is 850 kilometers an hour. We do have a hull strength of 2D plus 1 and a shield strength of 1D. These are not the most robust shuttles in the world, um, but as something that you can essentially build on the fly, it is pretty remarkable, and I will say it in those regards. All right, so looking at our sensor packet, we do have a passive scan going out to 3 kilometers with a plus 1 bonus, an active scan going out to 8 kilometers with a plus 2 bonus, an active search going out to 12 kilometers with a 1D plus 1 bonus, and a focus going out to 500 meters with a 1D plus 2 bonus. This is listed as having 3 Type 6 phaser arrays, which is upgraded from what we were reading on Daystrom's website. One forward, one port, and one starboard. Fire control is 0D, so you're going to have to kind of do a little steep learning curve. We do have a fire rate of 1, and damage is 6D. But do keep in mind that this is at starfighter scale. Typically, when we're fighting against other vessels, most of them will be at capital scale, so we will have to deal with it in those regards, which would drop it down to our standard 4D. We do have the micro torpedo launcher. This is forward but is self guided. Again, it is at starfighter scale. It is a fire control of 0D, has a spread of 5, and does 2D plus 1 damage. The scary part is now they are saying there are 200 micro torpedoes on board. That is, in a lot of regards, in my mind, a little on the high side. I would say maybe 20 micro torpedoes, but that's my look at it, not theirs. And I'm just looking at it for the size of the ship and what we're doing. Um, they're getting their information from typically memory alpha and memory beta, and wherever they're getting all their extrapolated information from, I don't know. But I am saying that it does seem a little on the high side to me. All right, we also have a standard photon torpedo launcher. Again, forward forward mounted, self guided. Let's see, this has a fire control of 0D, does 10D damage, and has a spread of 1. This can carry 1 to 3 Type 2 photon torpedoes, most likely for scientific research, so that way they can launch a standard science torpedo of whatever caliber and do whatever science mission, because our Defiant is not really designed for science itself, so having a shuttle that could fill that gap would be really worthwhile. All right, we do have 2 Class Alpha tractor beams, one forward, one aft. Let's see, fire control is 0D, strength is 3D. Uh, we have a transporter of 1, which is a 2-person transporter. A lot of that really is coming around because of the success of the Danube class shuttle, as well as the Type 6 shuttlecraft later on getting the 2-person personal transporters. So the description that we have here is the Type 10 shuttlecraft is a small shuttle that was designed for embarking on the Defiant class. Designed after the USS Defiant entered active service in 2371, the craft was built to offer the ship a more versatile vessel from the shuttle pods originally embarked on the vessel. The shuttle was initially deployed uh, to the Defiant. Let's see, and its performance was monitored to determine whether the design was to be put into full production. This comes from the Star Trek DS9 technical manual. The Chaffee was deployed on the Defiant prior to the late 2373 when penetrating an energy barrier surrounding an L class planet that had managed to bring down the USS Olympia. And that comes from the Sound of Her Voice episode. And all this is from Memory Alpha and Memory Beta, as well as the Space Dock Ship Recognition Manual. So that is what we have here today. It is an interesting little ship. Um, Initially, when I look at this, I'm thinking of a smaller shuttle, not the bigger shuttle that's being listed here. Having a little bit extra capability for handling extra crew does make it a little bit more appetizing to me. Uh, Seeing that I am a forever DM, uh, having a ship that I can carry a couple extra people, because I always, if I play a character, I'm always a support role. So it's the type of ship that really interests me a little bit more. Um, like I said, because I'm always doing a support role. So, with that being said, thank you so very much for joining me today. It's always wonderful having you with me, especially as we cover different ships and creatures and everything else on our day to day D6 adventures here. Hope you're doing well, and I will see you in the next video.